Hi, my name is Alex Dolphin and welcome back to another episode of Ex Ante. Today we're going to discuss the case of Stambovsky versus Ackley. This case was heard in the New York Supreme Court in the year of 1991. Let's go ahead and jump into the facts of the case. Stambovsky is the plaintiff, Ackley is the defendant. Stambovsky was going to buy a home from Ackley. Stambovsky got into contract to buy this home. Everything was hunky-dory. He was excited to move into this house. And after he had gotten into the contract to purchase the home, he did a little bit more research about the area. He was from out of town, and he found out that this home that he had just gotten into contract to buy was haunted by all accounts in the community. The home had been used for haunted house tours in the past. The owner of the home basically entered into a contest with Reader's Digest and a psychic medium to say, hey, my house is haunted. And she did receive funds from Reader's Digest where they verified that, yeah, the house is haunted. By whatever means they do that. But ultimately, the guy who's going to buy the house, the plaintiff, is like, well, what the heck? This seller didn't tell me the house was haunted. I don't want to live in a haunted home. I don't want ghosts terrorizing me in my sleep. I want out of this contract. And the seller says, sorry, it's too late. Can't get out of this contract at this point. So the plaintiff takes her to court. Says he wants out of the contract. The court has to deal with a principle in property transfers called caveat emptor. What this means basically is that the impetus is upon the buyer to inspect the property and understand what's going on with the property before he purchases it. So the defendant relies heavily upon this along with a merger clause, or rather an as-is clause, saying that, hey, the impetus was on him to investigate this property before he bought it and to figure out that, it was a haunted house. He should have done the research himself before he got into contract on it. The court says, normally we would apply caveat emptor, but in cases of unforeseeable circumstances, we're not going to apply that principle. So they're saying caveat emptor, we're going to apply to, the physical surroundings of the home. We're going to apply to, the toilets, the plumbing, the walls, maybe the roof, but we're not going to apply that to metaphysical circumstances where a ghost or a haunting is going on in the home and the current person who's living in the home is the only one that knows about that, right? Or not the only one, but the one who knows about that, who could disclose that to the purchaser before the transaction actually went through. So the court's saying, you didn't really need to disclose that the carpet was staying there, right? He could see that. You didn't need to disclose that maybe the furnace was on his last leg. His inspector should have found that. But you do need to disclose that there's a haunting going on here and that you have basically verified that it's a haunted home with Reader's Digest and that you've used it for tours as a haunted home. So for that reason, these kind of crazy circumstances, we're going to let him out of the contract. So that's the case. I think it's a really fun case to read. There's a lot of wordplay, and I think that it illustrates the principle well that caveat emptor does apply to the seeable things in the home, but might not apply to the unseeable things in the home. It also just shows how far you would have to go to get out of this principle of caveat emptor as a buyer, right? To get out of a contract. You really have to go to the far reaches of unforeseeable circumstances surrounding the home, like it be a haunting. So the ex ante implications of this case, of course, the first one is that it takes us away from a solid foundation in caveat emptor. As soon as you begin to carve out these exceptions for buyers where, now this guy's able to get out of the contract because he might not have known about the haunting, he can get out of that contract, right? As soon as you begin to carve exceptions, it becomes a much weaker doctrine or principle. So that is the ex ante implication, is that we're beginning to chip away at caveat emptor. The other side of it is, ex post, which is not the name of this channel, but ex post, it does make a lot of sense to let Stambovsky out of this contract. He had no idea that this house was used on ghost tours, and it's so out there. It wasn't just oh, I moved into the house and, maybe like a movie, now it's haunted. It's no, this was very much a haunted house. People in the community went to it. And the reason he didn't know about it is just because he was outside of town. It's probably why people in town didn't buy the home, and why someone from outside of town was the one buying the home, is because he's the only one that didn't know that it was a haunted home. So thanks so much for watching. I think it's a fun case. If you'd like to see more, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I hope you have a nice rest of your day. Bye-bye.